to Madame Lavator on our way to Vonnas. It was a great ride. We were back in that beautiful countryside with the farms and the cows, and saw lots of goats, which we hadn't seen before. Vonnas was just beautiful. It looked like a very rich little village. Everything was spotless and the flowers were just overflowing. Chez la Mère Blanc was a charming country inn. Everything looked brand new, although I'm sure it wasn't. I mean, the downstairs, anyhow, it looked like the upstairs. Our room, anyhow, was just newly decorated. But the copper and the pewter and the iron was magnificent. Our room was very nice, not too big, but a nice new clean looking room it was gaily wallpapered, pretty pink and green and hot pink flowered paper with a lot of white. And the bathroom was great. It looked like it had been installed yesterday. Great shower. Didn't even need a curtain. It didn't have a curtain, but it didn't need it. It was that kind of shower. Madame Blanc was very nice, but could not understand English. At least she said she couldn't understand it. So we struggled with our French. We spent a couple of hours in Macon, a bigger city, about 10 miles away. But almost all the stores were closed. It seems that in most places they're closed on Mondays, or they're closed from 12 to 2, which is when we seem to hit the stores. You really have things worked out, don't you?
It's no accident.
That's what you've been working on all this time with your little pencil and pad. The dining room was fairly large. It was divided, and there were 2 big rooms, one very large formal looking room, then down a couple of steps and it was like an enclosed porch with quite a few tables in there. That was nice, and it overlooked a little canal with trees and very nice lighting. And then off the reception room there were about 8 tables set up in there, and there was a little fireplace. That was very informal looking, but elegant. It was actually a very elegant dining room.
Yes.
There weren't many people in the hotel. They probably had more people staying there than they did for dinner. When we had dinner, there were only 2 other couples. No, there was in our dining room, and there were no people on that enclosed porch area. I don't know if anybody was out in the reception room, but we could hear people talking in there. Monday seems to be a very slow night, which is good. We had excellent service. We had 2 darling little girls take care of us. We started off our meal with la mousse de foie de volaille truffée et pistachier.
This was another chicken liver pâté, nice and light and quite pleasant. Not otherwise remarkable.
And the salad, talk about
Then we had a salade Jacqueline named after Madame, a green salad with an artichoke heart, which was filled with ham, sliced julienne, and it seemed like chicken gizzards all with a vinegar and oil and mustard flavored sauce. That was good and different. We hadn't had anything like that.
That was different kind of lettuce too. We had never
Yeah.
had that kind of lettuce that was on there. I can't even describe it. It was not leafy. It was. Could you describe it?
Well, it was yellow for the most part, and in long leaves rather than broad leaves.
Like long stems,
Yes.
something like spinach, maybe baby spinach. I think that's what it looked like, the very young spinach leaves. Also, it had truffle sliced on it. Looked very pretty. For our fish dishes, we ordered the Les Cuisses de Grenouille sauté fine herbe.
Now, these frogs' legs were probably the best, in my opinion, of the trip. There were 8 of them all together, served 4 at a time. 4 were served, and then later the waitress came back with 4 more, very hot. They were loaded with garlic, but the garlic was gone after the course was over. It didn't carry over with me until the next dish or the next day.
The other fish dish I thought was sensational, and you did too.
Right.
It was the coquille Saint-Jacques, which was like no other coquille we have ever had. In the first place, it was just served in a copper pot. There were, I don't know, about 8 huge scallops with some, I think, mushrooms, and this gorgeous dark sauce. I've never seen scallops in a dark sauce before.
No, we've always had scallops served in the shell with a cream sauce. This was the most revolutionary thing that I've seen done to scallops ever.
I asked how they were made, and the most I could get was that the sauce was made from red wine.
Boozy.
Boozy?
Boozy Rouge.
That's right, Boozy Rouge. I like that name. And mixed with a heavy cream and probably, I don't know what else.
Butter.
Butter and other things, but it was very unusual and great. It's up among the top 5 fish dishes, I guess.
Definitely.
Then we decided to eat light, so we had plain roast chicken. I hope my mother hears this part. This is, of course, the Bresse chicken country. So we had le poulet de Bresse sauté nature. It was for 2 people, so we had to order that. Their specialty is la poularde à la crème, but we just didn't want another cream dish. So we had the plain roast chicken, which was delightful. Even you liked it.
Oh, it was good. And it came, or we ordered with it, green beans, which were heavily doused with butter and served with a whole lemon cut in half. The green beans are much thinner than our green beans at home, and they were crisp and tasted nice and fresh.
They were good beans. Then we ordered Les Crêpes Vonnaisiennes, which are the pancakes again, the potato pancakes, which they serve after your main course with the sugar. You sprinkle sugar on that. We thought it would be dessert, but they said no, it's considered a vegetable, which they serve after. They turned out to be the best potato pancakes of all the potato pancakes we've had. But this is the way it should be, because I think this is where they originated.
Yes, they were originated by Mère Blanc, who was the mother, or at least ancestor, of both Paul Blanc at Au Chapon Fin and Georges Blanc at Vonnas.
For dessert, you had pear sherbet.
That was a different flavor. Never saw a sherbet flavored with pears.
And I had a small sliver of the most delicious chocolate tort or gâteau made with meringue and very rich dark chocolate, and it had some white in it. It looked beautiful. It was very thin, and I really had a thin sliver. In fact, I wish you had cut it larger after I tasted it, but I only wanted a thin sliver. I also tasted another little piece of it was some kind of a rum thing with a cream center and a lot of citron, but I'm not fond of rum, so I just had a bite of that, and that was all. We didn't overdo tonight.
I would say that this, along with Sassenage, comes closest to a 3-star restaurant of those which are currently rated at 2 stars.
And the wine?
Well, the wines were local wine, Mâconnais. The white was strong, robust flavor, and the red was a Beaujolais, which you liked better than I did.
I think this restaurant and the accommodations were very close to 3. We hope to return there next year.
Tour of the Pommard Winery.
Une new visite ici directement. Alors, first fermentation in the vat for the color, 10 days. And after fermentation, the wine new is in the barrel, oui. Est amené in the barrel for fermentation malolactic, second fermentation, 5 months, 5 or 6 months, oui. For keeping our wine in the cave.
Right.
You get it?
Arms of Castle of Pommard. 70 years old.
70, see? You're 70 years old. The cask is 70 years old. Yes.
2 fermentation. First, alcoholic in the vat, and second fermentation, malolactic in the barrel. And after, the wine is we put in the wine in the cask for 2 years. To age. And after in the bottles. Very old, 200 years, 250 years old. With the feet.
Oh, yeah?
Very old, with the feet.
That's what I wanted to see.
With the feet.
But they have that machine out there.
Good year.
Le Pommard.
Is this a good year?
Oui, mais Pommard.
Yes.
Pommard. 9 years. Oui, 9 ans. À part,
Oh, you won't know until 9 years? Is that no?
non, pas ça.
After first fermentation, you know?
Before, I not
You
know.
don't know. After the first one?
To age.
Yes.
Oui. After 2 years, we put in the bottles. For for 1 year before the sale.
So it's 3 years before it's sold.
3.5, sure, isn't it?
228 liters or 300 bottles.
228 liters.
Oui. Alors, année du vin, 71, millésime. Millésime, year of wine.
Right.
Et number of vat. Number of vat.
1971.
Very good year, et last reserve of Castle of Pommard.
1964.
64.
Very
year.
good.
Very
Present for Christmas.
Christmas.
Le propriétaire, là, 62 in the Magnum, 62 in the Mathusalem. Mathusalem, 8 bottles or 6 liters.
Oh, wow.
69, est-il
Bon, très bon, très bonne année, very
It was a
good.
good year.
Very good cork, imported from Spain.
Spain?
Spain, oui.
Portugal, Spain.
Magnum bottles.
We got to Sens about 4 o'clock. It was a gray day. We checked into the hotel, which was quite large and very attractive from the outside. It had an outdoor terrace, like most of the others, that's used in the summertime. And the rooms downstairs were very large. Our room turned out to be so small that we decided to ask for a better room. We were moved to one that was twice the size, at least twice the size. Maybe 3 times, I think it was. 3 times the size. It was a nice room. We then took a walk out around Sens, and it began to rain. So, after stopping into a few shops to pass the time, we came back to the hotel and got ready for dinner. Oh, by the way, most of the shops were closed because it was Tuesday. The day before, most of them were closed because it was Monday. And the day before, they were closed because it was Sunday. The dining room was very large. And by the end of the evening, I guess it was almost all filled up. It's remarkable where all these people come from.
To start off the meal, I ordered soupe de poisson. It was a richer, thicker fish soup than the one I'd had previously. It was served with slices of toast heavily soaked with garlic, on top of which cheese was to be sprinkled. The soup was good, probably the best part of the meal as far as I was concerned. Sylvia had a salad niçoise containing all sorts of ingredients, and on the side were served 3 bowls, one of mushrooms, one of onions, and one of something that looked like cold noodles but turned out to be cabbage in a type of mayonnaise, I suppose. In the salad was tuna fish, lettuce, tomatoes. There were olives and carrots and a hard-boiled egg, or half of one, and some other articles. For the fish course, we had a fillet of sole, which was served on plates that were so hot couldn't touch them. But the fish itself wasn't so hot. And the service was poor because we had to wait a long time for the white wine to be poured. In the meantime, the fish cooled off. But it wasn't too much of a loss because it wasn't that good to begin with.
Between the fish and the meat course, we ordered a specialty which was called Noir Pudding, black pudding, and when it was brought to us, it really looked terrible. It looked like it was burnt. It looked like like a black, fat sort of hot dog. And it was served with I guess a few slices of apple, or was that a whole little apple? Whole very small apple. That also had a burnt top. Turned out it's not burnt because it didn't have any taste of burn, but that's the way they were supposed to be. This long black sausage was made out of blood and what?
Onion.
Blood and onions. I can't believe it. It looked awful. The apple was very good. But that other thing, black pudding, was, well, to be had once. I had ordered for the main course a duck, which was just plain roasted, and Ed you ordered a lamb. You thought it was some kind of a lamb Côte d'agneau, which was supposed to be a lamb patty, not a patty, lamb cutlet. But when they brought the dishes, they brought me the lamb cutlet, which turned out to be 2 lamb chops, and they brought you the duck, which had, they brought you one side of a duck which had 2 legs. Remember? Yeah. We were trying to figure out how the duck had 2 legs on the same side. The service was really terrible. They never did come to pour our white wine. We had to call them over. And they did pour once and never came back. And so you did the pouring the rest of the time. Then they came over. Then it was time for the red wine, and they never came over to pour the red wine. And we ordered a bottle of Perrier, and a lady who hadn't taken care of us before brought the Perrier and left it on the table and didn't give us glasses. Then we had to call somebody to give us glasses. For dessert, you ordered a specialty that had to be made 30 minutes in advance, and that was an apple tart. When that came, you took a bite and you said it tasted funny, and I took a bite and I couldn't get rid of that horrible taste. It was so bitter. So I called the man over, maitre d', I guess he was, and I asked him to taste it because I couldn't describe how terrible it was. So he took it over to a corner where nobody could see him, I guess, and he tasted it, and he came back over and he said that that's the way it's supposed to taste. But we said that we didn't want it. I had ordered a strawberry tart, and they brought me an orange surprise. So I had to send that back and ask for my strawberry. It was a strawberry Melba or with strawberries with ice cream, and it was good. That was good. I guess that was the only good thing in the meal, and then I had asked for it twice. It was really, all in all, it was a terrible meal. It doesn't deserve 2 stars. It doesn't deserve 1 star. The service was horrible. Everything was just terrible. The room was all right, but we had to ask for. It's not the room we originally were supposed to have. It was awful.
The wines were Chablis and Bonne. Invariably, we like the white wines better than the red when we're dealing with these regional products. Now, vintage wines are another story.
Started off very early for Paris. When we finally arrived there, the traffic was so heavy. We went to the Hilton Hotel to see if we could get a room. They were all filled up, but with a little encouragement, like 50 francs, they said that they would try to do something at a different hotel for us. And they did get us a hotel at PLM Hotel Saint-Jacques, which turned out to be so nice. It was very modern. But that's the next day, as we wanted the room for the following night. After that, we parked our car off the Champs-Élysées and conducted our business. First, we went to the travel tourist bureau to try to get information about a bus. Then they said we'd have to go someplace else. We were nearby our bank and the new one that we wanted to transfer to, so we took care of the bank business. Changed our plane reservations from Thursday to Friday. Had a little snack, some little lunch at some place called Drugstore West or something like that. It wasn't too good. Then we went to the second place that the tourist bureau sent us. They sent us someplace else. Did we ever find that place? Did we go to the next day? We saved that for the next day because it was getting late and we had to drive to Chateau Thierry. We started off, we thought we had plenty of time, but we got stuck in that Paris rush hour traffic. Terrible. Never complain about the Schuylkill Expressway again. We were fortunate that our restaurant came before the hotel. So by this time it was late, it was dark, and it was after 7 o'clock. So we went to the restaurant and asked them to please call the hotel and make sure to save our rooms because we would be there after dinner. And instead of having dinner at 8, which was what our reservation was for, we had dinner then. The name of the place was Auberge de Condé. For a long time, we were the only ones in the dining room, and it was a shame because the dinner was marvelous. And of course, we got so much attention, and they were all so nice. After about 3/4 of an hour, 2 other couples came in, and then after that, about 6 men came in for dinner. So we didn't feel badly. The dining room was very formal, yet comfortable. There were silver candlesticks with red candles on every table and flowers. We had potted cyclamen on our table. Everything sparkled. In all these restaurants, it's so clean. The white is white, really white, and the glassware doesn't have a spot on it, and the silver shines, and it's amazing. There isn't one thing out of place. Everything is just perfect.
We were very tired, so we didn't have a cure to begin with, since we had some more driving ahead of us. We started off the meal with coquille Saint-Jacques à la neige. This was the third coquille, the third different coquille. These were the tenderest scallops I'd ever eaten in a white cream sauce that was altogether indescribable. It was not a heavy cream sauce. It was very light and thin with slivers of carrot and onions. And it was just great. We followed that with mousseline de homard à Guéraud, a mousseline of lobster which was exceedingly light, delightful cream sauce. It was very elegant looking with a dot of truffle on top.
This chicken dish was another great way to prepare chicken. It was made with a white wine, onions, and carrots again. It was not the same as the coquille. It was different, good, light, and one of the up there among the great. Ed ordered the civet de lièvre, which is hare. I'm glad that came last because I didn't really care for that too much. It looked very pretty. Had a lot of mushrooms and a rich dark gravy which looked divine, but I didn't care for the taste of the civet. You liked it very much, so there wasn't a lot of meat on it, a lot of bone. For dessert, I ordered a Délice de Condé, which was another chocolate gâteau, and I also ordered some framboise. It was very good, as always. You had the biscuit glacé, which was extremely good. It was a nice, well, it looked like a rectangle of chocolate with a wide stripe of whipped cream across the center, but inside was cake and ice cream. I don't know what flavor ice cream it was, but then this was covered with the chocolate, and then it had the whipped cream. It was excellent. Even you liked that. Summing this restaurant up, I would say, and you agree, that it really should be a 3-star. I don't know how it would be with a lot of people in the dining room, but couldn't have asked for better service and better attention. And it was such a joy to come into that restaurant after this long tiresome day. It was our first rainy day, and we were running around to so many places trying to get things done. And it was a joy to finally get here and be so well received. After leaving there, we had about a 20-minute ride for our hotel. And of course the roads are dark, and when we finally arrived there, that also was, well, it was a great ending to a busy day. They were waiting at the front door for us, and they showed us right up to our room. The door was open, and the beds were made, and there was this beautiful, huge room. It was like in two parts, divided by white dotted Swiss curtains, and it was a very unusual looking room. All the furniture was black lacquered, and the walls were gray and white, and they looked like fancy, the paper looked like fancy drapes gathered, and the rug was red, and there were white curtains on the windows, and there was a door that well, it was dark when we got there, but I looked out anyhow, and there was a terrace. Our bathroom was very large. In fact, it was so large the luggage went in there. And the bathtub was in a separate section, the toilet was in a separate section, so it was almost like a 3-room bathroom. With the double sinks, we've had a lot of double sinks. The bathroom was not as clean as it should have been, but the bedroom looked very clean, and boy, it all looked good to us when we got there. And we took showers and got in bed, and were often, well, as soon as our heads touched the pillows, we really had a good night's sleep. We got up early the next morning because we were going to drive into Paris again. We had a lot of things to do, unfinished business, and but we looked out of our window, and there was a beautiful big terrace below our bedroom with the white furniture, and the grounds were really magnificent. Also, the room was filled with all kinds of pretty little antiques, and there was a fireplace. It was really a charming looking room. When we came downstairs after breakfast, I looked around a little bit before we left, and they had magnificent antiques all over the place. Beautiful furniture. By the way, the breakfast was served on gorgeous Limoges china. All our breakfasts have been served on beautiful Limoges. Probably will come back here next year, as it is the only good hotel in the area, and we do need one there, unless there is a new addition to Michelin or Kleber, because I felt that the bathroom should have been cleaner. We drove into Paris early, and the traffic was not half as bad as it was getting out of the city the night before. We went to the hotel, first of all, to see what it looked like, and then to see if we could leave our baggage and car there. The rooms were not ready, but we were able to park right in front of the hotel at no charge. We took a bus into the center of the city and tried to take care of getting information about renting a bus next year. Couldn't do much with French tourism, so we decided to go to American Consul. It was quite an interesting walk over there. We passed all the embassies and we finally got to the consul, and they gave us some names of places that might be more helpful than anybody. We got some information, and we'll have to write places we couldn't get to. An hour and a half in a great shop that sold things from the Orient and China. Went crazy with baskets. Back to the hotel because we hadn't checked in yet, and I had a 6 o'clock appointment to get my hair done. We just about made it. My hair turned out very nice. I got a haircut too, but it was very expensive. More than Blum's. Cut, wash, and set was $14. It was a gorgeous beauty shop. It had just opened 2 weeks before, and the hotel was a year old. We really didn't expect a new hotel. I think it's the largest one in Paris. It has about 800 rooms. And it was a great room to end up in because it was real modern, and it had hooks every place, and it had bright lights, and the bathroom was done in beautiful big dark blue and white tile, and a good shower and a curtain, and well, it was just the right kind of thing for the last night because we had to pack and go over things, and it was very, very convenient. In these other places, they're charming and lovely, but you can't find hooks. There's no space to put anything. The bathrooms, most of them are poorly planned. They don't have places there's not enough room to put things. We had a 9:30 appointment at Talivant. I thought it would be too late when we made it, but it ended up that we rushed to get there, and we were about 5 minutes late.
Talivant is a very small restaurant. At least it surprised me by its size. Very handsomely decorated. All the walls paneled in a warm brown wood. The ceiling was light, and of course the tables were elegantly appointed. It was easy to understand why we had difficulty in getting a reservation. The room was completely filled, except for our table when we arrived. And the number of tables was very small. For our first course, I had bisque de langouste, which was a first-class lobster bisque. About as good as you'll get, I imagine, anywhere. It wasn't unusual, it was just very good. Sylvia had the Supreme de Turbo Talivant, which was nicely served, well prepared, but did not qualify as one of the great fish dishes, and we have had a number of those. Our second course was fricassee de poulet aux écrevisses, and this one really rang a bell. This was chicken with tails of écrevisses in a sauce which was light brown color and thin. The two items together produced a delightful taste, neither one dominating. We came to the conclusion that this was probably the best of the chicken dishes that we had in the entire trip. I ordered Côte de Veau en Papillon. This was a veal steak, thinly sliced, with a layer of ham and a sauce which to me seemed to contain marrow. The combination again was excellent. Neither flavor or none of the three flavors predominating. They all complemented each other very nicely. And the ham with just the sauce on it was a sensation different from any that I can recall experiencing. For dessert, I would have liked to have had vacherin glacé au cassis, but the menu said that that was prepared only for 2 persons. However, they were very kind and made it for me alone. It was a standard vacherin glacé, that is the meringue wafers with the vanilla ice cream, accompanied by the black currant syrup with a few black currants sprinkled on top and throughout. It was excellent, really excellent.
I had a chocolate souffle for dessert. It was very good. Ed didn't care for it much because it was not real sweet, but I don't like when they're too sweet. This was just right for me.
We had just one type of wine, champagne throughout, Blanc de Blanc de Chardonnay. It was a slightly sharp flavor and not as carbonated or hardly carbonated at all.
The next day we continued to try to find a bus for next year to try to get all the information we could. We had to leave for the airport around 12, so it was impossible to go to any place. So I telephoned several places, and it was quite an ordeal trying to be understood. Some of the places did not understand English. A bellboy came in to get our tray, our breakfast tray, and while I was on one of the phone calls and having difficulty, and he stayed and helped us with one call and recommended a travel agent for us to call for a bus, which we did. And
Sylvia wishes to make a brief comment on the trip in general.
Great.
My comment, almost 5 hours of tape can't begin to describe how sensational this trip has been.